Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Just a quick reminder where the fire exits are. They're there and both in the back, right? In case you have to exit here if things get too hot. First off, I'd like to say that the five of us are looking forward to as many comments as possible tonight. We all live here and we all need to listen to each other. So that's the purpose of tonight. Just a frame of reference, we put this out there on Facebook earlier, but the board cannot engage in exchange of ideas with you tonight. We want to hear your views and leave as much time as possible for the residents. We'll be taking notes up here and we'll be addressing any questions or concerns that people have over the next several weeks. So, please sign up to speak if you wish, and we'll listen for about 2 hours. And then next we'll have Town Manager Williams start off with a brief overview of the FY26 budget as it stands and the larger picture of the override question. Then we'll call your name and start the 2-minute clock on your first word. Just a point of order, you cannot yield your time to give others extra. It's 2 minutes max per human being. So with that, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, Town Manager Williams, if you wouldn't mind just speaking to the slides behind you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Belcher. For those of you who I have not met, I am Steve Williams, the Town Manager, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the FY26 budget. I'm going to start at the top line with fixed costs. We have a Pathfinder assessment of $1,578,736. We have fixed costs, which include debt, pensions, insurance, and unclassified, $8,177,536. We have reserves. This is money that's going into our stabilization and OPEB account of $226,645 for a grand total of total fixed costs and reserves of $9,982,917. The Belchertown Public Schools budget, which includes the Chapter 70 allotment, is $33,844,623. The proposed override that we're going to be discussing for the next few weeks, $1,636,236. The budget including the override is $35,480,000. $859. Moving down to town government departments. The total town department budget is $13,465,184. The overrides that are requested include $198,244 for general expenses. That's restoration of our level service budget. We have a request for a deputy fire chief of $110,000. A second police lieutenant, that's the restorer position that was previously cut, of $110,000. We have a wage adjustment for the police lieutenant of $7,000. We have a federal grant that's about to expire for 6 grant-funded firefighters of $437,000. We have a request for a finance director of $125,568. Additional hours in our IT department to bring a part-time to the full-time of $47,000. An ambulance lease of $65,000. And a grant manager position that needs to be funded. It's currently funded through grants of $57,920. So the total town government budget with an override, $14,622,916. That's an increase of $1,157,730. We also have a request for an override. I'll be back up. The base budget for our capital improvement plan funding is $420,912. We have an additional request in override of $500,000 to bring the total up to $920,912. So the total amount being considered for Proposition 2.5 override is $3,293,968.
Very good. So tonight's topic is the FY26 budget, a potential override. So it's a wide-ranging set of topics that people can talk about. You can talk about the budget, the override. You can even talk about potholes on your street if you want, because it's all budget related. First up, we have Harper Oberly of Ware Road. It's okay.
You want us to come back to you?
Yes, please. I don't want people to cut the specials because then teachers will have less time to do what they need to do. And now I forget.
It's okay.
Can you go first, actually? I also don't want specials to not happen anymore because that will mean there will be no more enrichments, and the enrichments are really fun, and they allow and some of them allow us to be more active and make new friends, and a lot of them help us make new friends. And if specials don't happen anymore, that means those teachers will lose their jobs, and they're all really nice.
10 seconds, Harper.
I don't know.
All done? Okay.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next up is Lynette Oberly of Ware Road, followed by Stephen Vigneault.
Down a little bit. Okay. I want to speak about the kids on the margins. The ones that don't qualify for IEPs and haven't been identified by the schools as needing extra services. Without the new investment in the schools, average class sizes will increase 16 to 17%. My fourth grader has been in classes with 22 to 24 students with no paras for the time she's been in Belchertown. So far, she's maintained solid grades because she's bright, an avid reader, and a rule follower. But as a kid with sensory issues, noise and distraction in the classroom are already problems she faces. She has had some fantastic teachers, Ms. Makowitz this year and Mrs. Kemp last year, who have worked with us and allowed her to use supplies like headphones and fidgets that I have purchased, and will allow her to take breaks or work elsewhere when she's overwhelmed. We haven't always been so lucky, and when a previous teacher was constantly distracted with other students, Harper was bullied. She wasn't able to speak up for herself and never wanted to be the disruption in the classroom. Since we don't know what the future holds, Harper's doctor and occupational therapist recommend we go get a 504 plan. Larger class sizes will be severely detrimental to so many students.
Thank you. Mr. Vino, followed by Chelsea Landry.
Is this on? Good evening. Budgets are about cost. How do we measure cost? The simple and easy answer is by looking at the price one pays in dollars and cents. Unfortunately, that answer is not only simple and easy, but it's also inaccurate and misguided. While it purports to scrutinize dollars and cents, it ignores quality and sense. An example, your roof needs to be replaced, so you get 3 estimates, and you base your decision solely on the bottom line price quotes. You go with the option that costs the least. Where are you in 5 years? You've had to repair that roof twice, pay for mold and water damage and remediation, and you have a child who's now suffering from asthma. Aren't you glad you went with the option that cost the least? Certain fouls in soccer are penalized by awarding free kicks to the other team. I love soccer, but I've always hated the phrase free kick because it's a misnomer. If you're the one standing 10 yards away as an opponent lines up a kick, which may well be headed for your face, it doesn't feel free to you. I can assure you of that. The point is this: there is no such thing as a free kick. It's only a question of who pays what costs. The decisions being proposed are foolhardy to see how little one can spend on schools, our schools, until they break. And make no mistake, they will break. Belchertown's per pupil expenditure is and has been embarrassingly low for years. And now, we propose to cut those costs even further. There are many ways to define cost. Remember that when you decide to gut this school system and fundamentally change the community in which you live. Your myopic decision will have immense and catastrophic
10 seconds,
costs
Mr. Vino.
far beyond whatever it is you think you're saving. A town which will fall victim to the costs of your miscalculation now.
Thank you. Chelsea Landry, followed by Mike Knapp.
As a town resident who recently got married and hopes to be blessed with children to build my family in this community, I am invested in supporting what is best for Belchertown, not only for the next year, but for also for decades to come. This override effort provides the town with an opportunity to invest in that future. It provides the opportunity to explore the economic plans the Select Board has initiated to build our brand and increase our funding base. I will be supporting and advocating for this effort because this community is my home and it is worth my investment. It is time to come together as a community to provide our town with the funding needed to maintain our quality of life, to not only allow Belchertown to continue the same opportunity for generations to come, to provide them with even more.
Thank you. Mike Knapp, followed by Wendy Robinson.
Hello, Select Board. Okay, that's good. My name is Michael Knapp. I've been a town resident for over 20 years. I've been on the school committee in the past, so I've been in kind of your position on these types of events. So I just want to say that a budget is really an expression of values. Right now, we have a good thing here in town. We've got open space. We've got nice homes, we've got great schools, public safety. We have some of the best free volunteers in the Commonwealth sitting in front of us. But we're going to lose some of these good things if we don't invest. So this budget shortfall that you're trying to address, it's been growing for far more than 10 years, at least 15 to my knowledge. simply comes down to this: the dollar doesn't stretch. It's not spending a problem. It's not waste. It's not fraud. It's not incompetence, right? And how do I know that? Well, I know that because so many towns around us are having the exact same problem right now. It's because the dollar doesn't stretch. Now, we have a good thing here. We need to invest to counteract that shrinking dollar. If we fail to do so, we're going to lose those good things. Right? We're going to lose public safety. Police and firefighters are going to suffer. Our town library, it's been cut many times over the past decade. It's going to suffer some more. Recreation spaces. Our roads will get even worse. Now, in a neighboring town, I hit a pothole last month. It cost me $600. I'm not making this up. Okay, so having good roads matters in a very specific way. Now, we'll lose positions in town halls. The school cuts will be devastating. A $1.6 million cut, if we don't fill that this year, on top of the over $1 million cut last year, I don't know how the schools will recover. One anecdote that I've seen is that with the cuts, if we don't invest,
10 seconds, Mr. Knapp.
Most of our AP and honor science courses, and that's going to make it hard for kids to get into UMass. So I just ask you to put forward to support and promote a dollar amount on this override that you as a board can support and advocate. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Robinson, followed by, I'm going to give it a shout, Jessica Letzeisen.
The school's original $2.1 million request was to provide level service to an already completed staff. The new $1.6 million is a reduction to that reduction already. This means we will be working below level service on top of the 17.5 teaching position cuts made last year. What is teaching like now? I can tell you, I know, I've been here for 31 years. 31 years ago, I had 32 students in my class at Chestnut Hill, my very first year teaching. Today, I have 22 kids. So yes, I've had larger classes, but the many needs of the 22 today far outweigh when I had 32. The class of 32 was much easier than what I have going on today. Yes, we need to make cuts where we can, and I believe that we have, and we are willing to do so again, where we're able to. Hearing that some town administrators, managers have taken 4 to 10% raises this year is disheartening when we're in this situation. Seeing that other departments are now adding 100 plus annual salary positions is disturbing when it wasn't heard of before. This is not the time to be adding additional stuff. You shouldn't ask one department to operate below an already reduced level service while others get to go above. Yes, the schools require the most money due to the size, but every department should be scaling back. This will only pit one department against another when we should be working together. If the town agrees to override, we need to work together, all departments, to keep the asking amount manageable. Thank you.
Jessica, followed by Bruce Officer.
My name is Jessica Letzeisen, and I am a member of the Belchertown community. I was grateful in previous meetings to see that while many town representatives may not agree with the idea of a 2.5 override, they still heard the many community members who brought the idea forward and decided to include it in the town vote. I also appreciated that they showed extreme concern for members of the community who voiced that their families would have financial hardships if the override passed. I was excited to hear that they would discuss this further and come up with a plan. What I thought would be a true collaboration of all the perspectives and needs of the different town members turned into something much different Monday night. What I had envisioned was a group of representatives to create a plan that would benefit as many of its town members as possible. Like create an override and write into the plan that families who do not earn a specific household income be excluded from the tax. Create an override and write into the plan that our community members that are on a fixed income and are beyond the retirement age be excluded from the tax. Create an override and write into the plan that represents community members that I know nothing about because I'm not in a position to collect that information. I sadly do not feel that happened this week. I do agree all town departments need to be represented with any increases. However, if you're in your excitement to include the wants of the town, you have come up with a total that is so comprehensive it may leave us with nothing. Budgets were given at the beginning of this discussion. Honor what people have asked for originally. The school department has already decreased their ask in order to make the final asking price less. The rest of the departments were being cut by $500,000. Incorporate that in your final count and limit any additional cost. On a final note, as this town has said repeatedly, we are a community. We live here because of the community that was created long ago. If you're a member of the school department in Belchertown, if you are a first responder for a Belchertown department for first responders, if you are a member of the Belchertown DPW, if you are a
10
member
seconds.
of any of the other departments that serve Belchertown community, you are a product of the Belchertown school system, think. We are a community that develops and creates our town departments, that our school system is built. In order for the town to have any success, we have to find a way to make this override work for the community. If it does not pass and the school system fail,
Thank you, Jessica.
deterioration of all other departments,
Mr. Officer, you're
your future
recognized.
employers will be equipped to make Belchertown the great community that others seek out.
Thank you. Bruce Officer, followed by Mel Donovan.
Yes, Bruce Officer, 149 Federal. Before I have comments, before I get into that, I'd like someone to explain to me how you're going to be going to town meeting with an unknown figure for budgets. How can you go to town meeting when you don't have a figure?
Those questions will be answered in the coming weeks.
You're going to figure that out somehow?
Yep.
But you have to have a fixed number. You can't be going there not knowing what figure
Thank you.
people are going to be voting on.
We'll do our best.
And because you're not voting final override until a week or two after. I don't think you can go to town meeting without a number. But that was my first to think of. But going to start with, yes, I've been sitting here, I've been fighting with the school department over their budget. I've been to their last meeting, and I complained on their budget and their dollar-wise, and we've argued this back and forth for years. But when I see this today, that the rest of the town is throwing in all these extra monies to jump into the bandwagon, to get more money, and even put into the paper that we're going to reinstate people and rehire people. This is a real slap in the face for anyone, especially the people that are losing their jobs in the school system. And this is just a backwards way of doing anything. And you're going in you're putting in here a fire department for the grants that are running out. You knew this grant was running out the day they were hired. This is no surprise. This is coming up. This does not need to be a great big thing to add into. And hiring a new assistant town manager and people like
10
this
seconds.
are beyond. I'm sorry.
Mel Donovan, followed by Jake Holzberg. Oh, somebody's shutting it off from the outside?
We keep getting a message that the organizer is ending the session. We're the organizer.
good to go, Kevin?
I think we're good to go. We've got things back up and going.
All right, carrying on. Mel Donovan, followed by Jake Holzberg.
Hello, I'm Melanie Donovan, and I'm speaking to you tonight as a parent. I know folks have a lot of opinions on the override number. It's too high, this side should cut, that side should cut. What I care about is that it passes, because without it, the consequences will be devastating. A few examples. For the past few years, my youngest has been watching my oldest play in the band and impatiently waiting her turn. We've refurbished her dad's trumpet, and she's already been practicing at home. How do I tell her that there won't be a band at Chestnut Hill next year, after she's already missed her very first year of school because kindergarten was COVID, when she hates Tuesdays because there's no special, because we lost a gym teacher last year? My 7th grader came home upset yesterday because she found out she won't be able to take French with Mr. Paris next year. She says he's a great teacher. She's talked about becoming a scientist and studying biology, but she already has 27 kids in her science class. How are they going to be able to run experiments if they have even more kids trying to share equipment? Will we even be able to afford supplies? How will she be able to get into a competitive college program if she won't even have the opportunity for honors or AP courses because those might get cut too? These are the things I worry about. But even if I didn't have kids in school, I would still support an investment in education because it is good for the whole community to do so. I've never needed to call the police or fire department, but I still want to see them be well staffed. An override is not a Band-Aid. It is a solution. It will benefit our town for years to come, and it is a normal and necessary step to take this year.
10 seconds.
We need our leaders to stand with your citizens and do the right thing so that we have the community that we love able to meet our needs.
Thank you. Thank you. Jake Holzberg, followed by Mona Griffin.
Jake Holzberg, resident and dad. So I've heard our select board repeatedly say we have a revenue problem, and then say we don't have a solution, at least not for 5 to 10 years. And I think we can do better than that. We have a revenue problem because the taxes we pay have not kept up with inflation. You are the only people who can do something about that. On Monday, I listened with disappointment when I heard some of you say you wanted the only solution to our revenue problem to fail. Our solution, this solution, there's hundreds of citizens who ask for it. How often do people come to these meetings? How often do you get lines of people who will say, sign me up, I want to save our schools, I want to make sure our police and fire department is fully funded. People don't volunteer to pay more taxes typically, unless it's necessary. And then I heard some of you say you weren't comfortable with the lack of a plan, that this is rushed. It's rushed because our kids, our teachers are stuck in the middle of a storm. They don't have any more time, and they need you to come up with a plan, and a plan you support. A plan that you, as our elected leaders, will believe will work. As you challenged our superintendent to bring that school number down, we are challenging you to bring that town number down. This override was never about improving our town. This is about keeping what we have, and I believe you can do that. Most importantly, when it comes to the override, consider endorsing a phased-in approach. I sent an example to your email, but for those people who are here, we are voting to increase the levy, but that doesn't mean you have to use the whole levy, not in the first year. We know that the schools certainly need that money in the first year, probably a little bit of the police department. The next year, we know the fire department is going to need that money. So spread the increase out over 2 years. That way we can tell people it's going to be 75 cents a day for every single household. That saves our schools, protects our kids, gives you guys time to plan. It gives us fair warning that we need to kick in $285 a year for the next 2 years, because we can do that. This is the year we decide who we are. Do we fight to make sure that the next generation has the same opportunities that we did? Or do we keep underfunding our town and watch all that cost-cutting
10 seconds.
down what we worked so hard to build?
Mona Griffin, followed by Fran Frederick.
Good evening. I'm Mona Griffin. I lived in this town for over 30 years. I've had 4 kids go through our school system, and I've been to many of these budget meetings. And I've attended many of the school committees also. At this time, we see our school committee valiantly trying to save jobs and personnel. They are not looking to add to the schools. They are looking to add personnel. All they want is to keep what we already have. They are still restructuring and losing important pieces of our schools, even with that. I see our town adding positions. Do they need $1.5 million just to keep the personnel they already have? Or are they adding positions that we won't be able to fund next year, or will have to move away from our schools? I'm unsure why the select board or the finance committee would encourage this. Why is there another option? Why isn't there another option to just fund the students? Why isn't there an option for an override that just funds the schools? There should be more options other than all or nothing. I would like to remind you that many of our teachers in this district have been in this positions for more than 20 years. I would like to say thank you, and I appreciate their dedication. They have shown our schools, our children, our parents, and our community through their dedication. I would hate to see our children lose the level of service from these veteran teachers. I hope we are willing to show that if we want to fund our children and their educational needs. Finally, where exactly are we going with our brand for our town? What do we have to brand? Most of what Belchertown
10 seconds.
deals with children and educating them, and this should be our priority.
Fran Frederick, followed by Kelly Swiatlowski.
Good evening. My name is Fran Frederick. I'm the president of the Belchertown Education Association. I have chosen not to speak at any of these meetings for fear that it would be vilifying the union or the greedy teachers or all of the other things that I've heard over the course of my 25-year career. It is time to speak for the members of the Belchertown Education Association. Nearly half of our membership, nearly half of the people that work in Belchertown Public Schools live in Belchertown. They are your neighbors. They are paying your taxes. Those of us that don't live here are patronizing your businesses and volunteering in your community. We are Belchertown. What I've heard over and over again is presented that we are somehow some foreign entity that is trying to take money, or that us leaving, people disappearing, has no impact. It has an impact. It has an impact on the adults who are losing their positions. It has an impact on the children who see those adults disappear. Most valuable resource that you have is your children. You entrust them to us. Please trust us that we will spend your money well, that we will make this town proud, as we have historically, an incredibly competent, capable, excellent education system that is in jeopardy right now forever. And this is a critical time. You are going to decide which way you want this town to go. Are we going to be the community of the future? Or are we going to go back to old ways that didn't work in the past? I would ask you please fully fund the schools. A $500,000 cut's already been made. People will be leaving. And we're going to have a hard time replacing people in the future because this community is telling people whether or not we value education. Thank you.
Kelly Swiatlowski, followed by Maria Scudere.
In 2017, when my daughter was in 2nd grade, I collaborated with a group of parents to ask the school committee to reduce class size on the elementary school level. Ultimately, our appeals were heard, and I was worked as part of a focus group to create the current class policy for this district. In 2019, I was told by my son's 1st grade teacher that although he could not read at grade level, he was also not low enough to qualify for the district's reading intervention services. In spite of the policy, classes were still too full, and access to reading intervention was limited. In 3rd grade, he was placed on a 504. In 4th grade, that changed to
to an IEP. As a district, we could have prevented the need for higher tiered interventions if we had smaller class sizes and earlier interventions available to more students. Although my children will be in middle and high school next year, the quality of education that is available to all children in our community has value to me and will long after they graduate. Eliminating one classroom teacher in each grade, K to 6, and removing the only 2 reading specialists in the district will devastate the education that our children receive. The class size policy will be forgotten along with many of our students. I know that this district has always done more with less, almost miraculously so. Unfortunately, this seems to have been a source of pride for both the Select Board and the Finance Committee. Belchertown residents have the lowest tax rate of any neighboring community, and as a result, our students receive the smallest amount of funding for their education, and yet our student performance remains admirable. However, as someone who's worked in this district nearly 20 years, I can say with certainty that this year's proposed cuts to staff will be the beginning of the end of our school system. When this override fails, because you want it to, as you said on Monday, it will be your
10 seconds.
unwillingness to compromise that will be the reason our students will no longer be receiving an education worthy of Belchertown's reputation. As a citizen, parent, and teacher, I beg you to please reconsider the astronomical addition to the 2.5 override in order to give our schools and students a fighting chance.
Maria Scudero, followed by Sarah Makowitz.
Maria Scudero, Belchertown resident for over 30 years. In watching Monday's Select Board meeting, I experienced a wide range of emotions, the greatest being confusion. In fact, I watched the meeting again last night to try to better understand what happened. And I'm glad I did, because it clicked. What I witnessed was actually the relief of a group of people who saw an opportunity to infuse money into our budget. Numbers were flying as the possibilities to support initiatives this Select Board believes will provide us with economic stability dawned. My second viewing provided tangible evidence that this Select Board, consciously or not, understands the importance of the opportunity to invest in our community in order to sustain it. I understand there is frustration that this moment has not arrived as scheduled, but this is in fact the moment. The community members who were drawn into this by their concern for the schools now understand the need for an investment that includes all sectors of town services and are ready to get down to the business of advocating and educating residents who are on the fence about the crossroads we find ourselves at. I encourage this board to consider the number they've come up with carefully. Is too much of this potential infusion of funds tied to new positions, limiting flexibility in future budgeting? Perhaps some of these positions can be phased in after other economic initiatives have been realized. As a board, you have an opportunity to seize this moment to unite our community in support of this town. Please use it wisely, as we literally cannot afford to wait for another chance.
Sarah Makowitz, followed by Abby Holmes.
My name is Sarah Makowitz. I grew up in Belchertown, went through the school system K-12, graduated from Belchertown High School in 2011. When I was in 2nd grade at Cold Spring School, I had a wonderful teacher who inspired me to become a teacher myself. Because of her and the amazing school system I had the privilege of attending, I'm happy to say I grew up to be a teacher. Today I'm a 4th grade teacher at Chestnut Hill Community School. I was so excited to be able to come back and teach in the town where I was a student. I knew Belchertown had a fantastic school system and great job security. As I was told many times from colleagues, the only way you leave Belchertown is by your own free will or retirement. This year, I found out we were all wrong. I am one of the many that will lose the job if Prop 2.5 override does not pass. I'm not a number on a budget. I'm a person who now has to rethink their future. I'm someone who's teaching a class of 24 students that now need to be dispersed into other classrooms, raising class sizes to an almost unmanageable size. Have you ever tried to teach classrooms full of small minds, all with different needs, personalities, and home lives? If the answer is no, you're welcome to come spend a day in the life of a teacher. It's challenging on its easiest of days. It's not fair to our students to place them in the larger classes where they have less one-on-one time with their teacher. We've seen a difference in our students since COVID. All grades face learning gaps that were
not there before. Increasing class sizes and providing less support for students is not how we close those gaps. If you vote no, you're not just voting against needed positions in other town departments or new and helpful projects in the town. You're voting against myself and my colleagues, both who lose their job and those who do not. You're voting against the students in this town. More importantly, you're voting against your future teachers, police officers, firefighters, community members, and yes, even future select board members.
Abby Holmes, followed by Eric Weiss.
Before I begin, I want to say a sincere thank you to the Select Board, the Finance Committee, Brian Cameron, and the School Committee. You have been tasked with such a difficult task, and I appreciate your dedication to finding a solution. My name is Abby Holmes. I have lived in Belchertown my whole life. I graduated in the class of 2007. I have 3 kids, 4th grader, 6th grader, and a freshman. I am a teacher in the same building I went to in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I even get to teach alongside some of my favorite teachers who once taught me. On the weekends, you can find me on the sidelines cheering on Belchertown youth sports teams. To say that I am proud to live here is an understatement. There are many reasons why I love Belchertown. I think everyone can agree that our town is unique and beloved. It is so beloved that issues like this can be extremely divisive. We are so passionate about what is best for this beautiful town, but often unwilling to gain perspective from the opposing side. With that being said, I think the arguments for voting no are extremely valid. I see the frustration for many in the online forums and from our own select board. I hear you. I see you. I am just hoping I can ask you to hear and see me as well, and others like me too. If you want our town to stay this pure, quaint town, then we need you to pay for it. Belchertown is worth it. Lastly, I'm sharing all of this with you because I am a 3rd grade teacher, and I will be one of many who will be cut if the vote does not go through and the schools do not get the funding they need to keep the current and necessary positions. Right now, there are 7 3rd grade teachers, and even with that number, I still have 26 desks and 26 students who squeeze onto my morning meeting rug every morning. While I would not change a thing about this because I love my students. I truly cannot fathom how we will be able to squeeze with many students into 6 classes instead of 7. So I want you to see a real person who will be devastatingly affected by these cuts. I am not the only one. I'm one of many. I want you to hear us, see us, and know us. Thank you very much.
Eric Weiss, followed by Jen Harris.
Eric Weiss, 390 Old Enfield Road. I'm here tonight to say 2 different things to everybody that's here. One, the first question I have is, what is a town? What makes a town work? What makes a town do what it does? It's all aspects. It's the select board. It's the finance committee. It's the school committee. It's all the residents together, working together because they want to live here and they want to make Belchertown the kind of place where they can raise their families and do what they need to do. As a select board, you have offered us a golden opportunity tonight. You have said we need an override. You have said that there are many facets to the override. There's a school piece, a town piece, and some other unfilled positions. That is the investment that Belchertown needs to make in itself. I'll ask the question again. What is a town? A town needs to invest in itself. It can't just go on year after year hoping all the numbers work out, which we have done since my time on school committee. So Belchertown needs to invest in itself, and it needs to invest in itself now, because this is the moment. This is where we're at. This is where we are. You made a brave decision Monday night. Back it up. That's what you have to do. You have to back it up and recognize. I'm going to ask the question one more time. What is a town? A town is all of us working together, and that's what we need to do.
Thank you. Jen Harris, followed by April Jasek Bangs.
Belchertown faces a critical juncture in its commitment to public education. While other town departments are looking forward to a wave of new hiring funded by this override, the schools are faced with the potential for staff layoffs and declining opportunities for students. I'm asking for you to review and reflect on recent presentations delivered by the town manager and superintendent. Town Hall
has asked for an override to fund a wish list of expensive new positions, including an assistant town manager for $125,000. The school district has asked for an override to preserve some, but not all, of their current positions. The school's proposal included 0 new positions. These two very different approaches to spending should not be bundled into a single override question. One demonstrates a desire to maximize the number of municipal employees, while the other attempts to downsize responsibly while preserving current services. Taxpayers should have the option to choose between these two approaches by voting on 2 separate override questions. Some have said that we are one town, so we should have one override question, but this is clearly not the case. We are split between those who support raising taxes to fund expensive new management level positions that have never existed in Belchertown, and those who simply want students to continue enjoying the same services as in past years. If you believe in democracy, we will split the override vote and let the people decide how their tax money should be spent.
April Jazik-Bangs, followed by Megan Mazzaferro.
I am here today as a parent of 2 amazing kids, one rising 1st grader and one rising 4th grader. If the school budget gets cut again, my children will be directly impacted again. My rising 4th grader happens to be in a class that has more kids in it than the surrounding grades. Because of that, in 1st grade, she was in a class of 27 students with only 1 teacher in the room. I don't think you have to be a teacher to appreciate the fact that having 27 6- and 7-year-olds in one room learning how to read and write is beyond challenging, and that everyone will not be able to get the attention they need. I think we can also agree that reading skills directly impact the rest of the child's educational experience. My kiddo was just one that fell through the cracks because of large class sizes. In 2nd grade, it was brought to our attention that my student was far below the benchmark for reading, but did not qualify for special education services. This wasn't her 1st grade teacher's fault. This was funding and a support problem. Since then, she's been working incredibly hard, and with a smile, might I add. I'm so proud of her, with daily small group reading instructions at school and twice a week private tutoring at home. If this 2.5 override does not pass, one of the proposed cuts is to Swift River and Chestnut Hill reading specialists, as well as cutting 1 teacher from each grade level, K through 6. So the entire groups of children that have relied on specialized reading instruction will not only lose that support, but will be thrown into class sizes nearly 20% higher than the large sizes that are already negatively impacting student outcomes. It's unacceptable.
10 seconds.
And while I hope community members think of my amazing daughter when making this decision, I also understand that this isn't just about my family or even just BPS. This is a whole town budget crisis. We do not want to lose 6 firefighters or police lieutenants. None of us want potholes causing damages to our car, town buildings crumbling. This override affects everyone, and it is affecting us right now.
Thank you. Megan Mazzaferro, followed by Rachel DeShano.
Good evening. My name is Megan Mazzaferro, and I'm a resident of Belchertown, 1st grade teacher, and a parent of 2 students who have been negatively impacted by the continuous school cuts. I have several questions that I would like to ask and hope to get a response at some point. Why were the schools tasked with lowering their level of service funding in the face of an override? Well, Mr. Williams was either encouraged or directed to present a wish list of items for the remaining departments in the town. Without an override, the schools will be laying off 10% of staff, which equals about 31 people. Will the other town departments commit to laying off 10% of their staff as well? For many years, the Select Board has said that the schools don't need larger increases because enrollment is declining. According to the U.S. government consensus, Belchertown's population has declined slightly since 2020, yet the town manager has stated he needs a large budget increase to hire more employees, mainly in the highly paid supervisory positions. If declining enrollment is a reason to underfund the schools, Why isn't a declining population a pretext for underfunding other departments? As a resident, teacher, and parent, I am asking the Select Board to support the override to maintain level funding in all town departments and keep the 70-30 split.
Rachel DeShano, followed by Allison West.
We've all been following the discussions closely, and there's one word that I feel is lacking. The word is "and." Yes, we need long-term solutions to these budget issues, and we need to fund the short-term ones in front of us too. The problem at hand is one being faced across the state, across the nation. Votes are taking place or have taken place in Natick, Stoneham, North Andover, and tons more. We need to make up for years of increased inflation and the end of pandemic funding. Without this help, the problem, the deficits, will just keep compounding. But if we don't tackle this long and short term by voting yes to fund our town now, there may not be hope for your long-term solutions, such as attracting businesses to increase our base. It's well documented by economists that one of the primary keys for attracting businesses is a quality educational system. My family moved here last year, so I can't speak to the previous cuts across the community, but I can tell you what it will look like if we continue, as that's what we moved away from. It will cause more people to school choice their kids, cause families to move away, cause businesses to choose to invest elsewhere, and community livability will suffer. I know everyone is hurting from inflation. My family is too. And we still need to act now before it's too late. Though our time here has been short, we think this community is an extremely special one that's worth investing in.
Allison West, followed by Jason Mazal.
Good evening. Community is not a spectator sport. In order for our entire community to succeed, we all must do our part. Do we want to pay more for taxes? No, of course not. But will my family vote to pay more? Absolutely. Because we know that in order for this town, our town, to be successful, paying more is what is asked of us at this moment. And we will gladly pay it to keep our teachers employed, our school programs going, after school, music, sports, everything. Our firefighters and our police employed. Our community as a whole cannot function without money. And when that money is insufficient, we need to step up. Our town deserves it, and so does our future. Be a player, not a spectator, and go out and vote yes for our future.
One of Belchertown's favorite music instructors, Jason Mazal, followed by Jim Nato.
Definitely not the favorite. Thank you.
One.
Yeah, so I'm a band director currently at Chestnut Hill Community School, and honestly, it's always been a dream job for me, but I want to let everybody know this is the third time I'm fighting for this program. And honestly, I'm getting a little sick of it, but this is for different reasons. This time I understand everybody's doing their job, they're doing their part to try to help here. I mean, nobody is looking at this like we're trying to be mean to each other or anything. But I will tell you the impact of what this is. If we cut the 5th and 6th grade feeder program, it's death by attrition eventually. Because right now our students are getting individualized instruction in 5th and 6th grade, which means they get co-op lessons and they're being taught how to play all these instruments in an individual fashion. If we cut this program, it means that potentially I might go to another building. I mean, I love it here. I'm not ready to go yet. But I will tell you that what that means is we lose that individualized instruction for the students. And basically it's just whoever is working that job in a big room without being able to, hey, this is the correct way to hold the clarinet. You know, your left hand goes here. You know, we're going to lose a lot of that. We're going to lose a lot of the camaraderie that comes from small groups where we get to actually know the students that we learn to care about. And we lose a great deal of what makes the program special when we get rid of the feeder program. And that's, you know, I'm a feeder program guy. This is part in a lot of these meetings that we're trying to come together as a town and trying to work together. And I just plead with you that if there's any part of those additions to the budget that are disingenuous, please just reconsider it, because we will fight to try to get this budget to where we want it.
10 seconds.
Thank you for your time.
Jim Nato, followed by Jillian Hall.
Thank you. Well, I'm one that's not in support of this Proposition 2.5 override. One of the reasons being is because this will become a permanent tax. So whatever you decide to pay for this Proposition 2.5 override will be added onto the future budgets within, future tax collections that are added onto the town in the future coming up. And then your 2.5 increases the year after that will also be factored into that. So, I mean, this is going to create a new baseline, which will be a higher tax rate for everybody moving forward. Secondly, last year's town meeting, I stood up as the town was using ARPA money, which was a one-time infusion of cash, to balance their budget, and they didn't have a plan in place to make up that shortfall that they had. First thing is adding on these extra positions that you're looking for, some of them being grant positions that you had in the past, you knew that they were coming up due, and not having a plan in place for that, I think is not a very good way to run the town. We've got a huge capital building infrastructure deficit that needs to be addressed that hasn't in the past. Also, are you guys going to be looking to come back for a new school, which did not pass $100 million that they wanted to do last year, which would have been another tax increase for people for the next 20 years. I think it's inappropriate how the town is managing its budget, and it needs to do a better job without coming to the taxpayers for more money year after year. Thank you.
Thank you. Jillian Hall, followed by Erica Hamilton.
Yeah, my little sidekick. All right, I come to you first as a mom of 2 beautiful girls, but also as part of the village for all of the kids in the town. They all deserve the type of education that will maximize their future opportunities. I also come as a resident of a beautiful town rich with potential that has to beg for its most basic needs. Then as a friend of incredible assets to the school system whose talents will be taken elsewhere if we vote no. I also come to you as a physical therapist with a degree in higher education afforded to me by a strong public education system that built that dream. I come to you as valedictorian of my high school class because of 2 very special educators who saw my potential, guided me through my challenges, and humbly faded into the background to do it all again for the next student. I come to you as the first person in my family to receive a college degree because I was lit on fire one day in 3rd grade by a passionate teacher who encouraged us to chase down every dream. Leaders in community, please humanize this experience before voting. There is more at risk than the data presented. Our select board often refers to the schools and the school budget, but never the children within their walls. This is not about finding a perfect number. It's about human livelihood, especially the innocent children. I want to know, have we studied the impact of these devastating cuts on the academic performance and then the social, mental, emotional, physical development of our children? Do we have any idea what the long-term fallout for our schools in town will be if we vote no? I think we know the answer. I cannot see a world in which children should be at the center of such a risky experiment. The school committee did what was asked of them. They came down significantly with their request. I ask that you take into consideration the voice of the town and the voice of reason above the chaos and confusion that was created between you all at your recent meeting. I ask that you move to only consider the dire and emergent needs of this town for the override as not to overburden the taxpayers. And then I ask our voters to look at all of the children in this room and those you see around town and then imagine all of the opportunities they would miss if the community that is supposed to protect them votes no. No matter what number is decided, no matter who you think is to blame, the only option is to vote yes to invest in the town that we all love. Ask questions, come to meetings, don't rely on misinformation. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Hamilton, followed by Jim Keefe.
billion in funding the state of Massachusetts for public schools. With that cut, I mean, Springfield just lost $47 million in school funding. What is the effect of that on this current shortfall that we are having? So how much more money are we going to be out due to this $2 billion cut to the state of Massachusetts for public schools? It is unfair to the voters in this town to not tell them how much worse the deficit is actually going to be. If it's $10,000, you can probably make that up. What if it's $1 or $2 million? We're going to be back here in a year with this same conversation. So please, I'm asking the school board and the select board to be very clear about how much additional money we're losing. Now, that cut from the feds was very recent. It makes sense that it's not in this, but this, I think we're in for a bigger deficit than this, and we really need to know what that number is before we can make a decision on whether or not to do a 2.5 override.
Thank you. Jim Keefe, followed by Cheryl Dutton.
Jim Keefe, parent of 4 successful students from the Belchertown school system. I'm here because I read the Sentinel the other day, and I've watched school committee meetings, and I was well educated in the shortfall of $2.1 million. And I start reading the paper, and it says, well, they successfully cut $600,000 from the budget, and that they were looking for $1.5 million to level fund the school system. Then I read on and found out that, but they're not looking for 2.1 or 1.5. They're looking for $3.3 million, not to level fund the school system or the rest of the departments. But when you look at that sheet that's on the screen, there's an awful lot of additions that weren't transparent needs of the town at the time that the budgets were being developed, at least not to me. But transparency with the school budget was evident when I saw the superintendent explaining where all the money was coming from, where it was being lost, and what was needed to keep everything functioning. And then what would the pain be without that $2.1 million? Then in the news, I see people advocating for the Prop 2.5 override, looking for $2.1 million. Well, I've got a suspicion that $2.1 million may have been achievable. I have a suspicion that $3.3 million is going to be difficult to get past. And I really request the select board and the finance committee to do some soul searching as to why did it increase from 2.1 to 3.3 instead of from 2.1 down to 1.5. There needs to be a
10 seconds.
Transparency, and I don't see it. Poor budgeting and poor transparency is going to make it difficult to pass a $3.3 million proposition 2.5.
Cheryl Dutton, followed by Karen Miller.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Dutton, resident in town, parent of also 4 successful students. I am here in a flashback mode to 1992 when I was here talking to voters and select board people the last time we had an override. 1992. Proposition 2.5, when that was enacted, they foresaw these budget situations. That's why the override rule was in place. They knew 2.5% a year was not going to keep up with the pace of inflation. If everyone in town only got a 2.5% raise every year, everyone would be bankrupt by now. No one would own a home. You've got to think about the things that you're asking the town to do, we couldn't do personally. I do have some exceptions with some things that were said here tonight. We are one town. We teach our children that no one person is more important than another. No one thing is more valuable than another. In our government, they're different. That being said, every problem facing our world is only solvable by a properly educated population. We've got to educate our population on many things. And to the select board, I would say, I don't envy you, but you're in the position of educating the public to the importance of the override vote. I think the school committee has done a very good job, as evidenced by the turnouts at these meetings. I think you have to educate the public for the non-school department parts of the budget that's being proposed. But I do want everyone to know we're one town. The last vote in 1992 divided things up into 7 votes where you could pick and choose. Do I want to vote for the fire, the police, seniors, schools? They all didn't pass. It created a very divisive atmosphere, and we've got to work on getting back together again. Thank you.
Karen Miller, followed by Casey Kibbe.
My name is Karen Miller, and I'm a concerned citizen of Belchertown. When I think of Belchertown, I think of a thriving community. When I imagine a thriving community, I think about our citizens placing 911 calls and being able to get a rapid response from fire, police, and EMT resources. I think of seniors who go to water aerobics classes at the pool. When I imagine a thriving community, I think of libraries, musical performances, athletics competitions, art, community events, local businesses that contribute back to the town, and engaged teachers and students. When I think of these things, I can see and feel that Belchertown is a thriving community. That is what we have now. And I truly believe that's why we're all here tonight. We all want Belchertown to continue to be a thriving community. We know that we have something very, very special here, and we all want to preserve what makes Belchertown a beautiful place to live. Right now we're at a turning point, and if we get to decide if we want our community to change. What happens if we don't vote yes? Many of those wonderful things will go away. Town services will be significantly affected. Teachers will be cut. If we do not vote for Prop 2.5, class sizes will increase by 16 to 17%. This means up to 27 children for one teacher. I'd like you to think for a second about your favorite teacher. Remember the teacher who took the time to connect with you, the one you remember to this day. Can you picture that teacher in your mind? How did that teacher make you feel? Connected, supported, seen? When teachers are overwhelmed by the number of students that they need to manage, it becomes impossible to make the supportive connections needed for an ideal learning community. Without this funding, Belchertown goes from thriving to surviving. I'll say that again.
10 seconds.
Without this funding, Belchertown goes from thriving to surviving. Now's the time to lead with our values. Now's the time to preserve our thriving community. Now's the time to vote yes on Prop 2.5.
Casey Kibbe, followed by Vincent Mazzaferro.
Hi, Casey Kibbe, 166 Sargent Street. We all know the saying that hindsight is 20/20. My fear is that the lack of support from members of our select board about this investment in our town will cause people to vote the wrong way, and they won't realize it until it's too late. You know when you really want a fully funded police department? When your house has been broken into or you're scared for your safety. You know when you really want a fully funded fire department? When your house has accidentally caught fire, or when you or your loved one requires immediate medical services. You know when you really wish schools were fully funded? When those kids grow up and become the younger generation taking care of you and the legacies that you worked so hard to forge for them. I, for one, want to feel confident that the people who come after me will have enough knowledge and education to take care of me in my old age and in the best way possible. I don't want to wonder whether or not my doctor, lawyers, financial advisors, whoever, have common sense or hope that they went to a fully funded school. We are one town. We have separate divisions of this budget, but we are all actually interdependent on each other. Things like Mr. Gould's chorus going to sing at the senior center, the fire department coming to our schools and giving excellent fire safety for our students, or our police department having the dreadful but needed task of coming to our staff meetings at the schools to assure us that they have a well thought out plan if we ever, in the face of danger and the horrible situation of an active shooter. Investing in our town is investing in your own best interests. Vote yes. Vote for yourselves. Select Board, I ask you to back this override and vote for your constituents.
Thank you. Vincent Mazzaferro, followed by Marie Weller.
I'm not Vinny Mazzaferro, but he signed in by mistake, and I forgot to sign, so is it all right if I speak quickly?
Are you Maria Philpott?
I am.
Sure.
Thanks. I've lived here for over 20 years. I'm a resident, obviously a parent, and school employee. Since 2021, the following positions have been eliminated. In 2021, a grade 2 teacher, 3 paraprofessionals, 6 secretaries. In 2022, a school nurse. In 2023, grade 5 teacher, paraprofessional. In 2024, a kindergarten teacher, 504 coordinator, 2 paraprofessionals, high school math teacher, high school science teacher. In 2025, high school math teacher, high school social studies teacher, high school paraprofessional, high school custodian, JVISH ELA teacher, JVISH social studies teacher, JVISH math teacher, JVISH PE teacher, JVISH science teacher, JVISH special ed teacher, JVISH general music teacher, Chestnut Hill gym teacher, SRE gym teacher, 4 pre-K paraprofessionals, and a central office clerk. The cuts coming next year are adding another 31 positions to this list. I won't list all of those. I'd be here for over my 2 minutes. That is a total of 65 crucial positions terminated in the school department in a 5-year period. Enough is enough. We need to do better for this town.
Marie Weller, followed by Peter Weller.
Here in Belchertown. I am here because my education matters, not just to me, but to everyone. My classmates and I are the next generation. One day, we will be your doctors, teachers, firefighters, and leaders. But we cannot succeed without a strong education. My teachers this year have taught me so many things that I would not have been able to do on my own. Without the right teachers and programs, we wouldn't get the skills we need to go. Please make sure our schools get the funding they need. Investing in us now means a stronger, better future for everyone. Thank you for believing in us.
Peter Weller.
I'm gonna have a dad moment there for a second. Okay, I stand before you as a citizen, father, and educator who understands schools are the heart of this community. Families move to Belchertown for the education we provide, and right now, our schools are on life support. Without this override, they will flatline, and the damage may be irreversible. The override is not a permanent solution, but a critical resuscitation we need while we seek long-term interventions. Let's talk facts. Without these funds, class sizes in our elementary and middle schools will swell beyond 27 students per class. That number is untenable and will make it nearly impossible for teachers to build the necessary relationships that allow for the targeted, individualized learning our students require. We will lose reading specialists, classroom teachers, and core academic programs, essential roles that directly impact student success. With many of our youngest students needing extra supports to meet learning standards, we cannot afford to cut vital services. Additionally, electives like band and music, programs that inspire creativity and passion, will disappear. These are not luxuries, they are vital components of a well-rounded education. The schools have already reduced their request to $1.63 million, a lean, necessary ask. If the Select Board has doubled the final figure to $3.3 million by including funding for police, fire, and town positions. While these services are important, our schools are the center. Without them, our community cannot thrive. If the heart stops beating, the body will fail. I'm asking you tonight, as an educator, parent, and someone who deeply believes in this town, to lower these additional asks and make the final override something taxpayers can support. If you don't, and the override fails, it'll take years for our schools to recover, if at all. We're at a critical juncture. Please do not let this be a moment we look back on with regret. Instead, let it be the moment we revive the heart of our community and gave our children the future they deserve. Thank you.
That's the end of the list of the folks in person that signed up. Kevin Hannon, are there anybody online?
Yes, we have Will Bangs online. We've got to swap the mics so that we don't deafen everyone. So, Esther.
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
Can you hear me okay? Oh, all right. Say hi, girls. Hi. All right. So I'm speaking, Will Bangs, 19 Jackson Street. I'm speaking today to provide a couple examples of how our town's lack of adequate income has been a detriment to our entire community. From a young age, we're taught that if we want things to last, we have to take care of them. In 2024, the Belchertown Family Center property was demolished because the town didn't have the funds to maintain the small building. ARPA funds meant to help stabilize and support our community had to be used to destroy a piece of it. Also in 2024, the Belchertown Community Alliance, a nonprofit organization, had to turn down $550,000 of awarded grants and community preservation funds that would have been approved by the community at the 2024 annual town meeting. These funds would have been put directly into the town-owned property at 6 Berkshire Ave to make the building accessible for all, opening it up as an affordable commercial space for small businesses, as well as providing a much-needed community space. The BCA was willing to take on raising funds for all utilities, building maintenance, and rehab, but asked that the town to maintain the property insurance on the building as they own the property. The request was denied, citing that there was no room in the town budget to do so. This project would have supported growth in small business and made the former state school property more attractive to outside investors, all of which would have offset the tax burden of Belchertown property owners. Instead, the town is yet again stuck with failing structures that have no funds to maintain. Never mind rehabilitate after decades of neglect. Firefighters, police officers, teachers, and school programs are all threatened to be cut. What will be left is not enough. This, along with no funding for capital improvements, is why this 2.5 override is the only way forward for Belchertown.
Thank you. So it seems, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for comments. Very important. It seems like we have a little extra time. Is there anybody here that didn't sign up that would like to say a word? Please introduce yourself and your address.
Marilyn Decker, 35 Granby Road. As a physics teacher, I'm normally a spreadsheet kind of person, but I want to talk about kids. And I want everybody to think about yourself as a student, or maybe it's your own child or a grandchild or a niece or a nephew. You don't get to do 5th grade over again. You don't somehow magically end up getting that spark that makes a difference in your life if that one teacher is not there for you. I've coached all sorts of different programs, from robotics to cheerleading to drama club, and I've seen kids and I've seen what happens when that light is ignited. So I want to urge everybody, I think the select board, I would love to see your numbers come down, but this override has to go by because our kids are worth it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Could you introduce yourself with your address?
My name's Aurelio Mandalay, and I live at 131 Park.
Did you catch his name? Could you repeat your name, sir?
Aurelio Mandalay.
Thank you.
Yep. So about 10 years ago, my family and I moved into town. There's 2 reasons why we moved into town. Good schools, lower taxes. This override that we're trying to vote on, it still keeps us those lower taxes, and it allows us to keep the schools. Not improve, but keep the schools. Okay? Everyone that I've heard talk today online and here, even the person that was against the proposition, just wants responsible spending. That's not what I'm seeing on this override that's being presented. The schools are cutting their budget, and I've been to the presentations that they've done. They're doing it based on case studies and fine line cuts. One of them closing one of the schools, which I'm wondering why hasn't been done before. The town government departments, I'm only seeing increases. Deputy Fire Chief addition, second police lieutenant, addition to the current police lieutenant, which I tend to agree with because there is a growth in how much we make every year and how much we have to spend. The 6 grant-funded firefighters we should plan for because it's a grant that will be going away. And addition to a town assistant manager, addition to IT, an additional ambulance, which might come in handy. Grant manager. Again, it doesn't seem like it's responsible spending. It seems like additions. So if you guys want to get the proposition to pass, can we get some fine line explanations, the same way that the school board has done, that shows us why we need these increases? I think it's a justification and a sale of what override you guys are trying to get through the voting. If you actually want to get it through the voting, that would maybe entice people to actually promote this. Since moving into town, we brought in 2 additional family groups. We're not big families. We have 2 adults and 1 child each. We are currently considering leaving the town and taking our tax dollars with us because of the decrease that we've seen over the past 10 years in the school quality, and the about to happen override that we're trying to pass through. That's the revenue that you're losing. The Mexican restaurant in the middle of the town, it's great, but it's not a significant addition. The people that are coming into this town, that are voting and paying the taxes every day, are the ones that are giving you the revenue that you need to be able to continue to be successful. The attraction is the school and the lower taxes. That's all.
Thank you. Can I, do you mind? Do you mind? Do you mind? Do you mind? One moment. One moment. Can I just get a show of hands? How many people want to talk after 2 more? Great. That'll be it. Very good. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ashley Thayer, and I'm a junior here at Belchertown High School. Let me start. When I was in 9th grade, I made the decision to go to Pathfinder Tech, and I pretty much immediately, about 4 months, decided to come back to Belchertown because it was not a good experience. But as soon as I got here, I had an instant switch in attitude, switch in opinion, and just general overall performance. My grades increased, my knowledge increased because of the incredible educators we have here. The other day, I was speaking with a teacher who knew that she was going to be cut. She is one of the most impactful teachers that I've had here. I'm speaking on behalf of the teachers none of the students have a say. We don't have a vote. I guess I have nothing else to say.
Here's Lynn Raymer.
Hi, I'm Lynn Raymer, mother, parent, former finance committee member for 9 years in this town. I am speaking to you today on the experience and knowledge of the town budget, as well as my professional career as an accountant. This town, particularly the finance committee, the select board, school committee, and many members of this town have known that we have a budget deficit. It has been created over the last 3 decades. In 2019, I myself was a member of the revenue committee. There were other members of select board that were also on that committee, and it was determined at that time that we had $1 million shortfall. It is now 6 to 7 years later. COVID has happened, inflation has quadrupled. It is the expectation of this select board and this town to recognize that this is not going to go away. No matter how much investment we try to make in the long term, we need to sustain the now. And the now should have started 7 years ago. However, that lack and the failure of our administration at that time has now caused us to be where we are. I encourage you as the select board to take that to heart. We failed 7 years ago to start tackling this problem. An override should not be looked at as a negative. It is something that is critical and necessary to bring in that revenue now while we build the building blocks that will take time. $1 million was then. That number today is approximately 2.5 when you look at the asks that the town and the school came in with a level service budget. Please look inside yourselves and put forth a number that is realistic to every taxpayer and recognize and support as a select board that the override pass. Thank you.
Hi, could you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening. My name is Casey Muno, and I live on 9 Caroline Drive. I was compelled to speak by all my neighbors and friends, so thank you all so much. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity as well. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of my 2 children who will be directly affected by these cuts in our budget. My daughter is in 2nd, my son is in 5th. They would be inadvertently going into a new grade without us really having prepared them very much. When my husband and I started a family, we landed in Belchertown. We lived in an urban community, and we didn't come here because of the sewer, the water, the trash. We came here because there was an amazing school system. As a 16-year teacher myself, I can tell you that the greatest indicator of success are class sizes and adult support. I am a PE teacher, and I am proud to do that, but when our class sizes increase, our educators are not teaching, they are babysitting. Okay, as a PE teacher who watched one of our PE teachers get caught at Swift, Chestnut Hill, and at the high school, not only did you make it unsafe for those students and those teachers, you also took away one of their favorite parts of the day. So my child who struggles with attention deficits, now 1 day a week does not even leave her classroom. Okay, you've taken away something that she loves. And as an educator and somebody who believes that physical education is one of the most important subjects, okay, not only for just education, but health and mental health, I'm speaking to you today to ask to not make any more cuts to our children's programs. They will undoubtedly affect our future sports and the arts programs. We have talked about class sizes and adult support and all the deficit cuts, but I think one thing that nobody in this room has talked about is speaking to the voters. We have talked about being an informed citizen, and I'm speaking to the voters today. We have found
10 seconds.
that there is not enough registered voters. Listening to this tonight, get out, get registered, read the information that is online, and speak up for this town. Thank you very much.
10
seemed like a good idea to me. But I tell you what I do like. I like kids. I like my kids. I like your kids. And that probably sounds weird. But that's why police are important. I like my town. I build homes here. I get to see families get excited about their kids' rooms and their living rooms and their yards that they're going to play in and hang out in. You know, I get to see my kids take off and see the kids they met at school. I love it. I love this community. You guys drive around big, cool trucks, and there's so many Tahoes in this town. I can't imagine, right? I cannot imagine looking at our kids and saying, I'm sorry, we can't afford it. That's crazy. I order dinner at Antonio's, don't you guys? It's like $110 for dinner for my family. I'll pay taxes, sure, fine. Don't tell my accountant that. Guys, we're talking about our police department, our fire department, and our kids. This isn't a question, this isn't a vote, this is obvious. I would give up anything for my kids to have a good life. I'd give up anything for your kids to have a good life. To be honest, my kid goes to private school. But he's friends with your kids. You know, I coach hockey to some of these kids. Actually, the parents of my generation, I watched them start the hockey team in this town. You know, I watched people raise money so that the Eagles could play football. We need to stand our ground. We need to go out. We need to talk to our neighbors. We need to talk to the other voters. And we need to vote this thing. Our kids are worth it. I don't know. What else are we trying to do? Where are we going to put the money if we don't give it to our kids? Where are we going to put the money if we don't give it to the police department and the fire department? You're telling me they aren't worth it? Their salaries aren't worth it? The teachers' salaries aren't worth it? Are you kidding me? They're way better people than I'll ever be. You guys throw your money at me all the time. I know how much your kitchen renovation costs. Dang right I do. It's time to pony up for our kids. It's time to pony up for our community and our future and the stuff that really matters.
Thank you. So that concludes tonight's listening session. On behalf of the board, I just want to say thank you to everybody who took the time to speak to us. And we have a bunch of notes, and stay tuned. More to follow. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Lisa, 8:12.